and welcome to this session on making the economic case for accelerating your cloud journey. Thank you for taking the time to join today. I'm Kevin Long from AWS Public Sector team based in the UK and covering the EMEA region. I'm joined today by Hitesh Mirchandani, responsible for our international public sector cloud economics team. We're going to spend the next 30 minutes covering the agenda that you see here. Cloud economics has become an important topic for organizations as it encompasses all aspects of the value that cloud can bring and is applicable throughout the cloud journey. So today we're concentrating on one element of cloud economics that relates to the migration of workloads to cloud and assessing the value and prospective benefit from this migration. We'll describe the essential elements of cloud economics, and then we'll go into details of the challenges of putting together a robust business case. We'll look at practical ways to ensure that the business case is as solid as possible, and we'll round off by highlighting a range of additional useful resources that you can draw upon. The fundamental question that we're going to address today is this: what information should I gather to demonstrate to the C-suite the value of moving to AWS? Now, every organization is different, and whilst format and style may vary, we've got very solid experience in AWS of what organizations look for in making a decision to migrate to cloud, whether it's individual workloads or if they're considering the migration of an entire data center to AWS. Whatever the situation, we'll help highlight the data and approach that we found to form the most compelling business case. So to get started, let's get back to basics and do a bit of a level set on cloud economics. This chart depicts how the economics of cloud are different from traditional technology elements. Let's imagine you're launching a new capability. You'll try and predict what the demand will be for your service. That's the white dotted line that you see here. And based on this, taking a traditional hardware-centric approach, you'll spec a technical solution that will address day one needs and anticipated growth for a period of time. That's the blue line on this chart. The lowest horizontal level is the capacity that you've set to get started. Once you launch, you see how actual demand turns out. That's the yellow line, and how adequate your provision of technology was. Now, real demand won't be a straight line, but hopefully will increase over time, whether it's students enrolling on courses, patients being helped in hospitals, or citizens being provided public services. As demand increases, you'll forward forecast this growth and buy, install, and provision big lumps of technology resources. These are the upward steps in that blue line. The hope is that you stay ahead of the game, but the reality is that sometimes you'll fall short and have an outage or reduced service. This is where the yellow demand curve briefly crosses the blue line. We don't quite have enough resource to cope with demand, responses for users will suffer, and later we see a bigger gap. That's the triangle that you see here, and a more significant outage. Now, the alternative to this is to maintain significant over-provision, but this is expensive and not a great use of resources. People like Gartner and McKinsey, for example, say that typically 50% of organizations' capacity is unused in this way. And that's a figure we tend to see in reality when we're assessing customers' workloads for migration. Instead, cloud provides elasticity. That's the red line that we see here. Elasticity enables us to scale up quickly in line with demand and scale down again when demand falls back. This fulfills one of the fundamentals of cloud, allowing you to provision only what is required, and so you only pay for what you need. This capability of cloud to effortlessly scale up and scale down as required in line with demand has significant impact on the dynamics of technology procurement. And I'll show this in the next two slides. From a finance and procurement perspective, the traditional process for budgeting, requesting, approving, procuring, and installing physical IT infrastructure is highly structured. It's a process which has been built up over some decades and has been very effective. Engineering and IT teams are typically the requesters, various finance teams act as approvers and procurers, and the operations team install and hand off ready to use the infrastructure. Once the infrastructure is in place, not much changes. Costs are predictable and easy to forecast. However, the flip side is that these processes are cumbersome and result in over-provisioning of resources because of the long cycle times in getting this operational, getting the hardware operational. It also means that experimentation and innovation slows down. They become blocked by the dependencies on these other siloed organizations. So while the process has historically been fit for purpose, it's not suited to the dynamic nature of cloud. Organizations looking to get the most from cloud capabilities have recognized that they need to change their processes and their organizational practices. As always, technology is just part of the picture. People, process, and culture is key. Cloud necessitates a new model, as we see here, with finance and technology in close collaboration. This enables the benefits of cloud to be fully realized. Agility, flexibility, and the ability to only use what is required, and so only pay for what is required, and keeping unit costs low. The cycles for approval, procurement, and infrastructure deployment are vastly reduced with cloud, and this increases agility and increases innovation. At the same time, it's essential that the finance model for tracking spend, forecasting cost, evolves to keep pace. The old procurement model reduced the risk of unexpected cost overruns, and so much was known so far in advance. Cloud has exposed that much of this known cost was in fact excess capacity that didn't deliver any value to the organization. The alignment of cloud to value creates new opportunities to be more agile in the way that technology supports an organization's objectives, whether it's fulfilling citizen services, providing education, improving healthcare, or supporting non-profit organizations. Agility means responding quickly and efficiently. As a result, cloud has had massive impact on the way that finance and procurement work with technology teams. This is a big transformation for organizations used to working in the old model. This is FinOps. Understanding how cloud changes the technology acquisition and consumption model is crucial for organizations to effectively move to the cloud. But we're here to talk about getting started and supporting a business case. So having set the foundation of how cloud economics have evolved with cloud, let's move to look at the business case. An effective business case starts with some core elements. First of all, understanding what exists today in your IT infrastructure and how it's utilized. To what extent, for example, is it over-provisioned? Understanding what exists today and how it's utilized informs stage 2, as we see here. Developing the mapping of existing technologies to AWS equivalents. From the vast range of available compute instance types, identifying which will align with the performance profile you need at the lowest possible cost. Now, developing a forecast from these unit prices also looks at the utilization and also purchase efficiencies. For example, how our savings plans can be used to significantly reduce your costs. For a business case to be effective means taking these forecasts and running a comparison against the current state cost, the total cost of ownership, and ensuring that you do a full evaluation of forecast costs of your current approach. This is true apples for apples comparison. You may also want to factor in other benefits like operational resilience, take account of sustainability, and as I mentioned at the start, it all depends on the factors that your board needs to see to make a decision. The final input is to understand the cost for migration, factoring in, of course, the assistance that AWS provides through various programs to help accelerate the journey and minimize cost. Hitesh will expand on this later.
Thank you, Kevin, for that introduction to the cloud economics team and the value provided to organizations globally on their cloud transformation journey. So how can organizations quantify the business value of moving to the cloud? And how can they build that business case that justifies this transformation for change? To try and help answer this, we really took an Amazonian approach and worked backwards from where and how we're seeing our best-in-class customers build that business case for change. Born out of that was, as you can see on the screen, the cloud value framework was developed, which basically puts some markers in place and bucketizes where customers were materializing value. To quantify and better understand the business impact of these cloud migrations, we've conducted a number of value realization studies with customers who have undergone a migration and also brought in an independent market research firm over the course of a number of years and across 1,500 of our AWS customers to examine the results achieved from customers who migrated from an on-premises environment to and now have been operating successfully these applications in AWS. And these are some of the stats you see in front of you. So this cloud value framework was built from a broad array of differing business requirements, industry needs, and leadership profiles, which obviously results in unique cloud adoption journey for each of these organizations. But while the various paths towards cloud may be different for different organizations, we consistently witness a combination of 4 distinct areas of values being generated within AWS customers. So let me walk you a little bit more in detail across all these 4 pillars. The first, cost savings. This is typically a conversation starter in the cloud business case. And there are a number of ways we're seeing customers identify and materialize cost savings when moving to AWS. So in this pillar, it's about taking advantage of those economic benefits of the cloud that typically can't be achieved in an on-premise model. Right-sizing capacity, leveraging the elasticity offered by the cloud, selecting the most appropriate pricing model to fit your workload, etc. And then as customers grow and mature on the platform, we consistently witness continued cost savings, improvements as customers modernize and leverage more cloud-native architectures. The second pillar of the cloud value framework is staff productivity. These are benefits customers witness by enabling employees to shift from tactical, undifferentiated work to strategic work by reducing time spent by full-time employees on system admin tasks. In AWS, organizations can manage more virtual machines and greater volumes of data using the same or reduced staffing levels, allowing organizations to focus their highly valuable IT resources on developing applications that differentiate their business and transform customer experiences instead of the undifferentiated heavy lifting of managing infrastructure and data centers. So for staff productivity, there are a number of administrative tasks that either go away completely or are greatly diminished when you're operating on AWS. For example, you will no longer need to physically arrange and provision for spares in the occasion of hardware failure, and AWS can dramatically simplify and automate a significant portion of an admin's time on patching and updating. In our study with AWS migration customers, we measured these improvements by taking a look at the volume of VMs and terabytes of storage managed per IT admin, both during prior on-prem deployments and after migrating to AWS. What we found from the benchmarking studies was that overall, there was a 58% increase in virtual machines and a 68% increase in terabytes of storage managed per admin after migrating to AWS. We also had a number of profiling questions in the study, and what was really significant was looking at those customers that re-architected, refactored, or re-platformed to fully leverage the functionalities and benefits of the cloud. Their staff productivity metrics saw more than double the improvement seen in the overall populations of those customers that simply lifted and shifted or are still co-hosting on the cloud and on-prem. Moving to the right, operational resilience. This relates to the benefits of the availability and security that come with AWS. That enables customers to improve SLAs while reducing unplanned downtime and risk. So in our studies with customers, we are measuring the quantifiable impact of reducing their unplanned downtime, reducing their incidents on critical applications, and the ability for customers to re-architect their environment and also decrease mean time to resolution when incidents do occur. The cost of downtime and security risks are obviously high to an enterprise, yet quantifying those can be difficult. In our work, we found analysts like IDC speak to critical application outages that have billion-dollar impact to organizations, and in speaking to startups, smaller applications still have significant impact to a business when there's an outage. Similarly, on the security front, the ability to help customers reduce likelihood of a breach or lost stolen records can drive significant impact to their business. So in this pillar, we were able to measure a number of distinct KPIs and improvements driving business impact post AWS migration which enable IT departments to deliver business-critical services when users and processes need them. Customers have reported an average 57% decrease in downtime after migrating to AWS. And further, these customers reported a 24% decrease in total monthly incidents and 32% decrease in critical incidents after migrating. So we have lower downtime, lower incidents, and lastly, it also showed 39% decrease in mean time to resolution for those fewer incidents that did emerge. Finally, on the far right, this is where we're seeing customers generating the biggest impact to their business by achieving business agility in various aspects of their organization. In this business agility pillar, there are benefits AWS customers see by being able to accelerate time to market, which is increasing ROI on investments, increasing their pace of experimentation on AWS, and faster deployment of new features and applications. This is really enabling the fail-fast culture to allow customers to experiment, innovate, and respond more quickly to customer demands. This is obviously very unique to each business and each use case, but across the board, this is really the area where we're seeing customers generate the largest business value benefits in their case to migrate to the cloud. So how do customers identify and measure this impact when benefits in this area can be felt across a number of parts of the organization and impact nuanced factors and KPIs, often outside the view of IT? Let me give you some examples of these KPIs. New applications launched per year by businesses, time to market for new applications, response time to defects, time to provision new environments, and then time to deploy in production. Like I've said, most organizations we work with, business agility is the primary goal they're looking to achieve from cloud adoption. In our studies, business agility gains were universal among customers regardless of investment level, time on AWS, number of users, and AWS footprint. In measuring this impact, customers are seeing a 38% reduction in time to market for new features, a 342% increase in code deployment frequency, and a 39% reduction in the time it takes to deploy new code to production. And fairly predictable, organizations are utilizing Agile and DevOps on an AWS hosted application to see even higher results. Again, measuring agility and its impact to a business is obviously unique to each organization, but the effects of reducing code deployment time and increasing frequency are naturally related and tend to reduce mean time to market for new features and services, which in turn can enhance your customer satisfaction. And because smaller, faster deployments are the essence of Agile and DevOps, organizations using these approaches experience even greater gains in business agility. So lastly, IDC interviewed organizations around the world that run various enterprise workloads on AWS to understand the impact of AWS on their information technology and business operations. These interviews revealed that study participants are leveraging AWS not only to lower the cost of providing IT services, but change how they deliver IT services and help them transform their business operations to better compete and address market demand. The benefits were achieved by creating a more cost-effective IT environment, by optimizing compute, storage, and database costs, by moving away from running their own IT infrastructure, by shifting IT focus to differentiated work and strategic business initiatives, and these helped including substantial gains in application developer productivity. Offering reliable and high-performing applications that lead to operational inefficiencies in the form of higher user productivity and fewer business disruptions, with an average of 94% less productive time lost to these outages in AWS. Instilling IT and business operations with the agility required to deliver cost-effective IT resources and an on-demand basis to address business opportunities as they arise, with interviewed organizations delivering almost 3 times more new application features with AWS, helping them win more business and increase revenue. And finally, over to my colleague Kevin to take you through what a total cost of ownership engagement output looks like.
Thanks, Hitesh. The cloud value framework that Hitesh has just run through is a great methodology for considering the range of cloud benefits beyond cost savings. Wherever possible, you should consider including these additional benefits in your business case: staff productivity, operational resilience, business agility. The metrics that Hitesh has described and others from the benchmarking studies can be used to quantify specific benefits that you may obtain yourselves. We've got links at the end of the presentation to resources that may help with these details, so make sure you download a copy. That said, the majority of organizations still focus first and foremost on cost savings. So when developing a cloud business case, we recommend developing a total cost of ownership. This is a summary view of a typical business case output that we produce for AWS customers. It summarizes the forecast costs of AWS broken out by service type over the organization's decision timeframe. Typically, this is about 5 years, and typically in line with their on-premise hardware refresh policy. The summary highlights the overall cost savings, the annual values, and the percentage savings against on-premise costs. This summary is backed up by a detailed breakdown of on-premise against AWS, together with a year-on-year analysis. Now, the business case should be seen as an enabler, as both a decision-making and a planning tool. We often work at a comprehensive layer, assessing savings at a level of an organization's entire data center or infrastructure level. Getting a holistic view of forecast cost savings allows an organization to plan their journey and to prioritize how they're going to do the migration. Now, getting started, as I mentioned, to look at the total cost of ownership requires a comprehensive view of current cost. And this seems straightforward, but in practice, the data is often spread across the organization and multiple teams. The team responsible for network contracts and bandwidth costs is typically separate from the costs from the team that maintains hardware and racks, and they're often unaware of the facilities costs that align to the floor space occupied by that hardware. Without a consolidated view of all costs, there is no total cost of ownership, and the business case may well get rejected. So the bottom line is, to do this right, you really need to dive deep on all the costs that support your infrastructure environment. Now, the good news is we've got plenty of experience of building a business case and have a solid methodology to draw upon, together with a plethora of market data and industry metrics that we can use to provide some guidance to the process. Now, even with this detail, and even if we undertake a multi-data center assessment, we follow a simple, effective methodology. We start with discovery, gathering a detailed inventory, server by server, whether physical or virtual. We can use a range of tools to do this or utilize existing data sources, for example, an extract from the configuration management database. We have our own tool, AWS Migration Evaluator, but there are a number of AWS technology partners that also have solutions that can gather this data in an effective, secure, but unobtrusive way. And the tool approach has one big advantage. It gathers utilization data, measuring average and peak CPU and memory utilization. And this data is essential if we're going to help to right-size your environments as you move them over to AWS. And that's where we get to step number 2 in the process. Rather than carrying the overcapacity that I just talked about, we can do this right sizing. We can launch services knowing that they are sized, ready to start, but they can be expanded later through the elasticity of AWS, and they can scale up and scale down as required. On this point, I'll hand back to Hitesh.
Thank you, Kevin, for that introduction to doing a cloud economics business case. What I'm going to talk about is the migration cost bubble. So if the business case is to be complete from a cost perspective, then it also needs to consider the migration costs. Migrating to the cloud means a period of additional costs, with some systems dual running, like your data centers and AWS, and costs of the migration process together with training and testing. So the business case needs to take account of these costs for full transparency. However, a migration plan should balance off these costs with the pace at which benefits of migration can be realized. Getting the migration sequence right will accelerate customers' benefits. To further assist, AWS has a variety of programs that help customers to both minimize the cost and reduce the time frame while managing risk. AWS has a few programs that help customers avoid duplicative environments, right? So running on premises and in the cloud, right? Minimizing that time, as you can see in this chart. Planning and assessment, we have migration consulting services. Staff training, we have training and education programs. Third-party tooling that help you assess your inventory and lease penalties and paybacks. Next, I want to spend a minute bringing some of this total cost of ownership and cost optimization discussion together, but also highlight that when we're helping customers understand the financial realities of a cloud migration, the lift and shift approach should only be a starting point in this journey. As Kevin indicated in his slides, we leverage utilization data during the data gathering phase to help you further optimize by right-sizing your environment during the business case process. Most often, early on in a cloud migration with the right data, the TCO analysis completed will be able to take into consideration those cloud optimization levers we just discussed. So the first steps in the waterfall right size the capacity take advantage of the cloud elasticity on both volume and time basis for optimizing storage tiers. At this point in the TCO evaluation, most customers won't always have the insights into specific applications to identify opportunities to modernize or evaluate cloud native services. This is just to show that the optimized lift and shift approach will often highlight those initial cost optimization opportunities that are considered in an early TCO, but they should not be thought of as the long-term cost as a customer matures and deepens their abilities on AWS. Finally, I recognize this slide is very difficult to read, and that is somewhat purposeful. AWS has thousands of customers who have undergone this migration journey and many references describing how this all fits together and how AWS is helping customers generate value creation opportunities across their business. I'll highlight a few across the 4 pillars. GE, for example, achieved 50% reduction in their TCO after moving a majority of their workloads to AWS. FINRA, a public sector customer, the Financial Regulatory Authority, achieved a cost savings of $20 million per annum after leveraging the AWS cloud. On the second pillar, the staff productivity, Sage Software, who provides business software and services to more than 250,000 organizations throughout Germany, saved over 500 hours per year of server configuration after moving to AWS. Expedia's travel-critical applications run in multiple availability zones for robust disaster recovery, so they're always up and running. And the last pillar, Bristol Myers Squibb clinical simulations run 98% faster on-premises, which significantly help time to market. Here are a few resources to help you get started in planning this business case journey for cloud. Talk with your account team or work with one of our partners in our extensive network to help you get going on this journey. Thank you for your time today. Here's some of our contact information. Kevin and I look forward to supporting your IT transformation journey. And lastly, we request you to please complete the session survey so we can incorporate feedback received in future presentations.